My girlfriend said. It didn't count as cheating because I didn't enjoy it. I replied. Oh, you're right. Stayed calm and let her think she'd talked her way out while I started packing her things one by one. Hours later, someone else confirmed the truth, and I'm 29 Memai, software architect at a mid-sized tech company. Been with Meredith, 27F, for almost 3 years, living together for the last year and a half. We've talked about marriage, the whole future thing, and I genuinely thought she was my person. 2 weeks ago, I found text messages on her phone that she'd left on the kitchen counter while she was in the shower. I wasn't snooping. Her screen lit up with notifications, and I saw enough to know I needed to see more. The texts were with Trevor, her ex from college. They'd been meeting up for the past 2 months. The messages were explicit, detailed, and made it clear this wasn't just emotional cheating. I sat there reading through months of conversations about when they could meet, where they could go, how she had to be careful about her schedule with me. There were photos, there were videos, there was planning and anticipation and all the excitement that used to be reserved for us. When she came out of the bathroom, I was still sitting at the kitchen table with her phone. We need to talk, I said. She saw her phone in my hands and her face went through about 5 different emotions in 2 seconds. Panic, guilt, defiance, and then something that looked almost like relief. It's not what you think, she started. Really? Because I think you've been fucking Trevor for 2 months while lying to my face every day. What am I missing? She sat down across from me and started crying. The kind of crying that's designed to make you feel like the bad guy for being upset. It didn't mean anything, she said. I swear to God, Blake, it meant nothing. Meaning nothing doesn't make it not happen. But I didn't even enjoy it. I kept thinking about you the whole time. It felt wrong, and I hated myself for it. I stared at her. You didn't enjoy it. No, it was terrible. I felt guilty the entire time. I wanted to tell you, but I knew it would hurt you for no reason since it didn't count. It didn't count. Not really. I mean, if I didn't want to be there and I wasn't happy about it, then it wasn't really cheating, was it? It was more like a mistake that kept happening. I've never been someone who yells or throws things when I'm angry. I get very quiet and very calm, which people sometimes mistake for being okay. But in that moment, something clicked into place that I'd never felt before. That makes sense, I said. She looked surprised, like she'd been bracing for an explosion that didn't come. It does. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Relief flooded her face. I knew you'd understand. You're so logical about things. That's why I love you. I'm going to pack your things. What? I said that makes perfect sense. You cheating doesn't count if you didn't enjoy it. And me ending our relationship doesn't count if I don't enjoy it either. Blake, wait. I'm not enjoying this conversation. I don't enjoy the thought of being with someone who thinks lying to my face for 2 months is a mistake that doesn't count. So by your logic, this doesn't really count as a breakup. I stood up and handed her the phone. I don't enjoy ending 3 years together because you decided our relationship wasn't worth basic honesty. But since I'm not having fun doing it, I guess it's not really happening. The look on her face was something I'll remember forever. Like she'd just realized she'd been playing chess while I was playing a completely different game. You can't be serious. I'm not enjoying being serious, so I guess I'm not really serious. I went to our bedroom and started putting her clothes in boxes. Everything felt very surreal, like I was watching someone else methodically dismantle a life I thought I wanted. She followed me, oscillating between tears, anger, and bargaining. You're being ridiculous. People make mistakes. This doesn't have to end everything. You're right. But I'm not enjoying being ridiculous, so it doesn't count. Stop saying that. I'm not enjoying saying it. By the time I finished packing her things, she'd cycled through every emotion and manipulation tactic I'd ever seen her use. She tried to turn it around on me, saying I was being cruel and heartless. She tried to minimize it again, saying it was just physical and meant nothing. She tried to blame circumstances, work stress, our relationship getting stagnant, Trevor pursuing her. When she finally left, the apartment felt different, quieter, but not in a lonely way, in a peaceful way. I called in sick the next day and just sat with the silence. I kept waiting for the wave of regret or sadness to hit, but it didn't come. Instead, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months, relief. I started thinking about the past year of our relationship, and I realized I'd been walking on eggshells without even noticing, always trying to read her mood, always wondering if I was being interesting enough or attentive enough, always feeling like I was one mistake away from her pulling away. The cheating wasn't just about sex with Trevor. It was about months of lying, months of looking me in the eye and pretending to be someone she wasn't, months of making me complicit in my own deception. But what really got to me was her justification. Not that she was sorry, not that she fucked up, but that it didn't count because she didn't enjoy it. Like my feelings about being betrayed were less important than her feelings about the betrayal itself. I think that's the moment I realized I wasn't losing someone I loved. I was losing someone I thought I knew, who turned out to be someone I couldn't respect. 3 days later, I changed the locks. Update 1. It's been 3 weeks since my original post, and the aftermath has been more dramatic than the actual breakup. Meredith has been calling everyone in our social circle, friends, co-workers, even my brother Garrett. The story she's telling is that I cruelly abandoned her over a minor mistake and refused to even try to work things out. According to her version, she briefly reconnected with an old friend during a rough patch in our relationship, immediately regretted it, and came to me ready to be honest and work through it together. Instead, I coldly ended our relationship and threw her out without any discussion. She's been posting cryptic social media stuff about learning who people really are during hard times, and discovering that some people will abandon you the moment you're not perfect. My phone has been blowing up with people who want to know my side, people offering relationship advice, people telling me I was too harsh. The general consensus from our friend group seems to be that while cheating is wrong, my response was extreme and unforgiving. Here's the thing. I still haven't told anyone what actually happened. Not the timeline, not the details, not her justification that it didn't count. When people ask, I just say we had fundamental differences about honesty and respect. But then something interesting happened. My buddy Jake from work pulled me aside on Friday. Dude, Trevor reached out to me on LinkedIn of all places, said he needed to talk to you about Meredith. What did he want? He wouldn't say, but he seemed pretty rattled. Said there were things you should know that might change how you're handling this. I was curious despite myself. Trevor and I had never been friends, but we'd met a few times over the years and he seemed like a decent guy. The whole situation had been bothering me because it felt out of character for both of them, so I agreed to meet him for coffee. What Trevor told me changed everything, but not in the way I expected. She's been telling people I recorded her without permission, he said. That she felt violated and that's why she said she didn't enjoy it. I felt my stomach drop. Did you? No. But Blake, that's not why I wanted to talk to you. He looked genuinely uncomfortable, like he was wrestling with whether to tell me something. The thing is, she's lying about more than that. She wasn't a victim in this. She wasn't some confused woman who made a mistake. She pursued this whole thing. Trevor told me he'd been getting calls from Meredith since last spring, that she'd been the one reaching out, planning meetings, pushing for more contact. She told me your relationship was basically over, that you guys were just going through the motions until she figured out how to end it. She said you were emotionally unavailable and that she felt trapped. I had no idea she felt that way. I don't think she did feel that way. I think she just wanted permission to do what she was already planning to do. But then he told me something that made me understand why she'd really called me cold. Blake, she recorded our conversations. Not me recording her recording me. She said she wanted proof that you weren't meeting her needs, that you weren't adequate compared to other options. I sat there trying to process what he was telling me. She was building a case against you, evidence that your relationship was doomed so she could justify what she was doing. When she said it didn't count because she didn't enjoy it, I think she was trying to cover for the fact that the whole thing was calculated. Why are you telling me this? Because she's making me look like a predator to save her own reputation. And because what she did to you was fucked up, and you deserve to know it wasn't some impulsive mistake. I drove home in a daze. The woman I'd loved for 3 years hadn't just cheated on me. She'd systematically planned to betray me while building evidence to justify it later. That didn't count because I didn't enjoy it, wasn't minimizing cheating. It was covering up the fact that she'd orchestrated the whole thing. That night, I finally called Garrett back. She's been calling Mom, he said. telling her you're going through some kind of breakdown and won't listen to reason. Did you believe her? For about 5 minutes, until I remembered you're the most reasonable person I know. What actually happened? For the first time since this all started, I told someone the truth. Not just the facts, but the whole conversation, including her justification. Garrett was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, "Jesus Christ, Blake. She really said it didn't count because she didn't enjoy it. Word for word. And you still haven't told anyone that's what she said?" "No. Why not? It would end all this bullshit about you being heartless." I thought about that for a while. Because I don't need anyone else to understand why I left. I know why I left. But I'm starting to realize that my silence has been allowing her to control the narrative. And the story she's telling isn't just wrong. It's designed to make me look unstable while she looks like the victim of my cruelty. I don't know what I'm going to do about it yet, but I know I'm done protecting someone who spent months planning to humiliate me. Update 2. The drama has escalated in ways I never saw coming, and I'm honestly not sure whether to laugh or be completely horrified. Trevor called me Sunday night, sounding panicked. "Blake, she's lost her fucking mind. She found out I talked to you and now she's threatening to go to HR at both our companies saying I've been stalking her." "Are you?" "No. Jesus, no. I've been trying to get her to leave me alone for weeks." This was news to me. "What do you mean, leave you alone?" "She's been calling me constantly since you guys broke up, wanting to know what I'm going to tell you, if I'm going to support her story, trying to get me to coordinate what we say if people ask questions." Trevor told me that Meredith had been spinning increasingly elaborate stories to mutual friends, and she wanted him to corroborate them. The problem was, she'd told different people different versions, and she couldn't keep track of what she'd said to whom. "Last week she told me to say that you'd been emotionally abusive, and that's why she came to me for comfort. The week before, she wanted me to say that you guys had been in an open relationship and you were just being vindictive." "An open relationship?" "Yeah. She said she was going to tell people you'd agreed to see other people but then changed your mind when you realized she was happier with me." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Are you happier with her?" Trevor was quiet for a minute. "Blake, I haven't been with her since before you guys broke up. That ended the day she told me you found out." "So what is this about then?" "I think she's panicking. Her reputation is taking a hit because people are starting to ask questions about her story. She needs me to be the villain or the victim, but she can't decide which one fits better." But then Trevor told me something that made everything click into place. "She's been asking me to start dating her publicly. Like, official relationship, social media posts, the whole thing. She says it would prove that what we had was real and meaningful, not just cheating. And I told her I'm not interested. I don't want to be with someone who cheated on their boyfriend with me, and I don't want to be part of whatever narrative she's trying to create." That's when Trevor dropped the real bombshell. "Blake, she recorded everything. Not just our conversations, but conversations with you too. She's been recording phone calls and arguments for months." "What?" "She told me she was building a case to prove you were controlling and emotionally unavailable. She wanted evidence that your relationship was toxic so that when she left you for me, it would look justified instead of like cheating. I felt like I was going to be sick. She was planning to leave me for you? That was her plan, yeah. But when you found out and ended things before she could control how it happened, it fucked up her whole script. Now she's scrambling to rewrite the story, but she can't because you're not playing your part." "What part?" "The part where you fight for her, where you beg her to come back or try to win her away from me. She expected you to compete with me, and when you didn't, it made her look like someone who wasn't worth fighting for." Everything started making sense. The phone calls, the social media posts, the elaborate stories to friends. She hadn't been trying to get me back. She'd been trying to get me to react. She keeps asking me why you're not angry. She can't understand why you haven't tried to contact her or badmouth her to people. She says it's making her look like she didn't matter to you. And that's when I realized what my calm response had actually done. By refusing to fight for someone who betrayed me, by refusing to engage with her drama, I'd denied her the validation she'd been planning to get from this whole situation. She hadn't just wanted to cheat and get away with it. She'd wanted me to be devastated, to fight for her, to prove that losing her was the worst thing that could happen to me. Instead, I'd treated her betrayal like information that helped me make a decision, and that had been more devastating to her ego than any angry confrontation could have been. Tuesday night, she showed up at my apartment building. The doorman called up to ask if I wanted to see her, and I said no. She waited in the lobby for 3 hours before security asked her to leave. She sent me a text later. "I know you're upset, but we need to talk about this like adults. You can't just pretend I don't exist." I finally responded, "I'm not pretending you don't exist. I'm accepting that the person I thought you were doesn't exist." She called me 17 times after that text. I didn't answer. The next morning, I found out she'd called my mom. "She's very worried about you," my mom told me. "She says you're not handling the breakup well and she's concerned about your mental health." "Mom, did she tell you why we broke up?" "She said you had grown apart and she made a mistake that you won't forgive." So I told my mom the truth. All of it, the months of planning, the recordings, the elaborate justifications, the manipulation of our friends. My mom was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, "Honey, that's not someone who made a mistake. That's someone who showed you who they really are. I'm done protecting someone who spent months planning to humiliate me. Tomorrow I'm going to start telling people what actually happened, not because I want to destroy her, but because I'm tired of being cast as the villain in her victim story. Some people are going to think I should have handled this differently. That's fine, but I learned something important from all this. When someone shows you who they are, believing them isn't cruel. It's just accurate." Final update. It's been almost a year since my last update, and I wanted to close this out because something happened recently that felt like the final chapter of this whole saga. The short version: I'm in a completely different place now. I got a promotion at work, bought a house in a better neighborhood, started dating someone who actually chooses me every day instead of making me audition for the role. Nicole is a data analyst at a partner company we work with. We met at a conference 8 months ago, started as friends, and gradually became something more. The difference between being with her and being with Meredith is like the difference between breathing easy and holding your breath for 3 years without realizing it. Nicole knows the whole story about Meredith because I told her early on when things started getting serious. Her response was perfect. So she tried to manipulate the situation and you just didn't let her. Good for you. Last weekend, Nicole and I went to dinner at this new place downtown. We're sitting there having a great time, talking about our upcoming trip to Colorado, when I see a familiar face across the restaurant. Meredith was at a table with Trevor, and neither of them looked happy. He was on his phone, ignoring her, and she was staring around the restaurant with this expression I remembered well. That look she got when she wasn't the center of attention. I pointed them out to Nicole, who glanced over and then immediately turned back to me. "Do you want to leave?" "Nah, I'm good. How's your salmon?" About 10 minutes later, Meredith got up to go to the bathroom and spotted me on her way back. She hesitated for a moment, then walked over to our table. "Blake, hi." "Hey Meredith, how are you?" She looked surprised by how normal my tone was, like she'd been expecting something else. "I'm good, really good actually." She glanced at Nicole, obviously waiting for an introduction. "Meredith, this is my girlfriend Nicole. Nicole, this is Meredith." Nicole smiled politely. "Nice to meet you." Meredith's face did something complicated. "Girlfriend. That's great. How long have you been together?" "About 6 months, I said, taking Nicole's hand. "We're actually celebrating her promotion tonight." The whole interaction lasted maybe 90 seconds. Meredith said she was happy for me. I said I hoped things were going well for her. And then she went back to her table where Trevor was still on his phone. Nicole waited until Meredith was out of earshot before speaking. She looked miserable. "Yeah, she did. Do you feel bad about that?" I thought about it for a second. "No, I feel bad that she's miserable, but I don't feel responsible for it." "Good, because you're not." We finished dinner, ordered dessert, and I honestly forgot about the whole thing until Nicole brought it up in the car. "Can I ask you something? When she was standing at our table, what was she expecting you to say?" "I think she was expecting me to be angry or bitter or awkward. Maybe she wanted me to acknowledge what happened between us, or ask about her life, or show that seeing her affected me somehow. But it didn't affect you, not the way she probably hoped it would." What I realized in that moment is that Meredith had been living in a story where I was the main character who got away, and she was the lost love who haunted my thoughts. Seeing me completely content with someone else, treating her like a polite acquaintance, probably shattered that narrative completely. The truth is, I rarely think about any of that drama anymore. When I do, it feels like something that happened to a different version of myself. The guy who was willing to walk on eggshells to keep someone happy, who measured his worth by whether he could make someone stay. That's not who I am anymore. Nicole and I have been talking about moving in together. She brings coffee to bed on Sunday mornings and reads me ridiculous news articles. She has her own career, her own friends, her own life that she chose to include me in, rather than expecting me to build one around her needs. When she travels for work, I miss her, but I also enjoy having the house to myself. When I work late, she doesn't take it personally or create drama about feeling neglected. We choose each other every day, but we don't need each other to function. That's what a real relationship feels like. Not two people frantically trying to prove they're worthy of love, but two people who already know they're worthy and decide to share that with each other.